I am joined now by the principal violist of the Fort Wayne Philharmonic, Derek Reeves. Derek, thank you for taking the time today. I read that you started playing, was it the violin or the viola?
I started on the violin.
At 2.5?
That is correct.
What in the world? I have a 2-year-old, and the thought of him picking up an instrument in 6 months blows my mind. Tell me.
Well, you know, it was not pretty at first. It's not like I sounded all that good at 2.5. I started the process, but it was a group lesson.
Okay.
So if you know, as you know, dealing with children that young can be kind of like herding cats at sometimes.
Yeah.
Initially, the children learn by ear.
Okay.
Through imitation. In the Suzuki method, which was what I was utilizing at the time, it uses the mother tongue concept.
Okay.
And so the idea that music, among other native sounds that surround children all the time, can be internalized and emulated and repeated in much the same way that a child learns to speak language.
Wow. Do you remember the point at which you thought, oh, I really like this? Because I imagine at 2.5, it was parents' influence or something saying, let's get you started here, but maybe not by your own free will?
I remember the exact moment. My teacher played a G major chord on her violin, and I saw this flash of color, which later on I found out is something that they call synesthesia, when people can actually see sound. But from that moment, I was hooked. I wanted to find out how to be able to make those sounds. I was all in.
That is fascinating, and I've never heard of that. How old were you?
This was 2.5, 3 years old.
That's incredible. Okay, so you pick up the violin at 2.5. Tell me about kind of the road that came after.
Well, it involved lots of practicing and lots of lessons, lots and lots of hours of practicing. So I was in the Suzuki method and there are 10 books. It's a graded curriculum that get progressively more difficult as the student progresses. And I got through all of those books and was hungry for other repertoire. And so just started learning more and more challenging things, and just began the long process of improving. Along the way, I discovered other mediums of making music, orchestral music, for example, chamber music, you know, pieces for violin and piano, and then later on for viola, of course.
When did you realize, okay, this is it? I'm not going to be a professional skateboarder. I'm going to go to school and really make this my career.
I think it was 5th grade. I think I was in 5th grade when it kind of dawned on me. We were at Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra concert, and it dawned on me that these people were getting paid to play music. That was just kind of a no-brainer as far as I was. I was like, wait a second. You're telling me that I can play my violin, I can play violin or viola, because I didn't really know what a viola was at the time. I can play the violin, and people pay me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, sign me up. I'm in.
Did you ever have that moment internally or because of external voices saying, yeah, you can get paid, but it's not a real job?
Well, I mean, you always have naysayers, but I never paid them any mind.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to IU, studied music, then got your master's, correct?
Yes, bachelor's and master's.
And then you knew that you were going to join an orchestra, or what did you feel like your trajectory was going to be?
Yeah, I'd always loved leading the violin section. I had a lot of concertmaster experience. I was concertmaster of the Columbus, Indiana Philharmonic when I was still at IU, and I was assistant concertmaster of the Evansville Philharmonic, and so I just saw that as kind of my destiny to lead violin sections in orchestra.
Okay, what brought you to Fort Wayne and the Fort Wayne Philharmonic?
Well, that's an interesting question. I was when I first had the epiphany that I wanted to be a violist. I moved back to Indianapolis and started freelancing and studying and practicing. And so Fort Wayne was one of those places that I was freelancing before I had a contract here. And then there was an opening. It was a section opening, and I auditioned for it, and I won it. And then shortly thereafter, the principal position opened up because the principal violist at the time, her husband won a position with the Baltimore Symphony. He was a percussionist.
Okay.
And so they left, thus vacating the principal position. I auditioned for that and won that, and here I am.
The rest is history.
The rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, I love hearing that because we are I don't think this city realizes how lucky we are to have the Phil. So it's very cool that with all the opportunities that I'm sure presented themselves, that you came here. Okay, tell me about teaching, especially knowing that you started so young. What is it like to have little young, eager minds ready to learn?
It's one of the things that I love most about what I do, because it is so important for creative artists to give back, because that is what perpetuates the art form.
Yeah.
That's what continues the love of what we do for generations to come. And so I love sharing that and seeing that recognition, that glimmer, that spark, the second that a student gets something. And it could be anything. It could be watching a string vibrate, or the realization that they can change the pitch just by where they put their finger. And just to see that recognition of all these possibilities that are suddenly awakened in their minds, there's no feeling like it.
What has music, art taught you about yourself?
Wow, that's an excellent question. And it's not a simple one to answer, because it has taught me really everything about myself. It's taught me things about myself, but it's also taught me about the world, you know. It's taught me things about everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, it's taught me that we have so much more in common than we have which separates us. It's taught me that with hard work, anything is achievable, but also anything complicated can be made simple.
I'm going to have to take your word for that, because I don't know.
I think that it's possible to find the logic and the simplicity in the most complex structures.
I love that thought. Derek, I could talk to you all day. Thank you so much for bringing beauty and art to the community. Thank you for teaching young people, and thank you for sitting down with me. Will you do me the honor of playing a bit?
I would be delighted.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
For more information, find Derek Reeves on Facebook.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne,